I'm sitting on a skateboard. This thing is so low. Now, these bikes are a lot of fun. Alright, look at this. No scraping. Pigs! Oh, I scrape! Look at this. The Harley Superlow 883. I'm a huge fan of these classic Evo Sportsters. I just see Harley history and badassery over the more recent, beginner bike label that Harley pushed to bring in a new generation. I mean, these went from the old Ironhead engines from 1957 to the Evo that you see now in 1986. And it's basically been the same bike ever since. Almost 40 years now. The only major change was in 2007 when it became fuel injected. Well, that and the engine getting rubber mounts in 2004 to reduce vibrations. I've ridden both before and after rubber mounts, and it's probably the biggest change from a riding standpoint. It basically went from a jackhammer on wheels to a mellower clothes dryer full of shoes. The Evo Sportsters are just old legacy bikes and have been made forever. And they were finally discontinued in 2022 because they just couldn't meet Euro emission standards anymore. So naturally, they were cheaper than the latest Milwaukee 8 Softails and touring bikes, hence why Harley pushed them on new riders. And yes, they're very low and easy to sit on, and the engines aren't scary powerful. But they're also heavy bikes, they vibrate a lot, and they're not slow dogs by any stretch. I'd call these approachable, and definitely a great gateway drug into Harley Davidson.
Yes! Come on!
When launched in 1957, they were Harley's smaller performance bikes and a huge success. In fact, the XR750 Sportster won more American flat track racing championships than any other bike. So yeah, badass. I picked this one up about a week ago at Laidlaw's, the best Harley dealer in all of Southern California. And I was able to pull Matt Laidlaw aside to talk about his family-owned and operated dealership. And a lot of you should recognize him. He's got one of the best Harley channels on YouTube with over 200,000 subscribers. So let's check that out, and then we'll ride the Superlow. Hey guys, I'm at Laidlaw's Harley Davidson. I'm with Matt Laidlaw. So I just got that bike. And,
congrats.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. This is
appreciate your business. Thank you.
My fourth bike I've gotten from you.
Yep. Thank you very much.
And you guys just renovated this place. What exactly did you? What's new?
Yeah. So I mean, we gutted the whole thing. So everything from the flooring to the fixtures and just the way that we merchandise the bikes and everything. A lot of changes in the bikes this model year as well. So it's kind of an appropriate time to do it. We have the new fairings on the Road Glide and Street Glide, and so I think another big change is we have all our pre-owned stuff upstairs now as well. For those of you who've been here, it used to be the motor clothes department up there, but yeah, everything from the exterior as well. It's just kind of the new branding and just kind of the look and the new style that Harley Davidson's taking with their dealerships now. So yeah, we're one of the first in the country to do it. So this is kind of the new look that Harley's going for.
Very cool. Yeah, my favorite thing is that you have the kind of the used bikes and the new bikes kind of all in one open area now, as opposed they were in the back. They were kind of in the same building, but a little separated.
Totally, and that's a good point. That it is nice now to have everything under like one common roof area. Yeah, just because people can kind of look at the two, shop them more easily against one another, and yeah, now everything's just kind of closer. Where we used to have the pre-owned bikes is now our service department. So yeah, everything's just a little bit closer now. We just actually where the service write-up area used to be. If you go past the service department, we have like a little mini showroom over there as well, just for extra bikes that we have that may be duplicates that we can't put out here on the main floor.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then you got, if anyone's wondering, you got this big elevator now that brings them up and down.
Yeah, so it's cool. I mean, I think just the novelty and the dynamic of having bikes upstairs. I know there's other dealers in the country that have an upstairs area where they showcase bikes, but there aren't too many on the West Coast. So not something you see too often on the West Coast. But yeah, definitely a different type of dynamic with that in the showroom. It really switched up the whole feel of the showroom now that we have that in. So that's right. Well, we're still a mom and pop shop. My grandpa started it back in '58, and so we play the long game here, and you don't win long-term customers by, unfair pricing. So,
Right.
anyways, yeah, we try to just be very transparent and direct with our pricing and sell bikes at a fair price.
So you're a third generation, is that right?
Yeah. So my grandfather, like I mentioned, and then my dad and my uncle are second generation Laidlaw, and my brother and I are currently working here. We're third generation. So there's.
And you've got young kids now. I mean, do you see them maybe in the future?
I don't know.
Fourth generation?
I don't know. I do have young kids, and at this point, I'm just trying to get them to love motorcycles. So
right.
One thing at a time. I don't know. We'll see.
Right. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate it. And,
of course.
I'm going to take this bike home, and really looking forward to putting some miles on it.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, stop back by and let me know how you're enjoying it. And I appreciate your business again. Thank you.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, take care, Eric.
Everyone there is great. No pressure and no price markups. So here's a few specs on the bike. Seat height's about 25.5 inches, so just about anyone can sit on this. But it's 562 pounds wet, so it's no lightweight. It's got a 4.5-gallon fuel tank, which is huge. It's one of the best parts of this bike. The Iron 8A3 holds 3.3 gallons, and the 48 literally has less than half the capacity at about 2.1 gallons. So this thing has range, easily over 150 miles. If you're taking off with friends on Softails or even touring bikes, you're not going to piss them off having to pull over every 100 miles or so, or even less with the 48. It's got an 883cc engine, air-cooled V-twin. It's old tech, no question, but it'll do over 100 miles per hour, and you can comfortably cruise at 80, 85 miles per hour all day long. You got to appreciate this kind of ride, though. A lot of vibrations and a lot of wind. To make an analogy, these are kind of like the P-51 Mustang from World War II. I mean, at the time, it was a badass fighter and helped win the war. But now we're jaded today with F-18s and F-22s. So when the younger generation looks at the Mustang, all they see is an old, slow, stodgy plane. But it's anything but, and ask any pilot that's flown F-18s or any modern jet who's been lucky enough to fly a restored P-51, and they'll tell you how special it is every time. It's an entirely different kind of flying, altogether.
It's an entirely different kind of flying.
It's not just about speed. I mean, look, I'm all about going fast. I have a 208 horsepower Ducati Street Fighter V4. But character and history go a long way, and the Superlow has that in spades. I always say movies are a good indicator of the times, and in the 80s, these were all over the screen. They were doing crazy things on Sportsters and Cannonball Run. All the bad guys in another 48 hours were riding these. Remember when they flipped over the prison bus with Eddie Murphy? Remember Black Rain? If you haven't seen that, make it a priority. Badass movie. What was Michael Douglas riding? An Evo Sportster. Remember that race at the beginning? I'll wrap it up with this. Who's the coolest Harley rider ever? I mean, who was it? It's not Peter Fonda or Dennis Hopper, although they were cool, don't get me wrong. It's not Marlon Brando, although he was on a Triumph Thunderbird in the wild one. It was Lee Marvin on the Harley. I think it was a Hydroglide. It's not the Fonz. He was only on a Harley in season 1. He actually got a much lighter Triumph Bonneville because the actor Henry Winkler was terrified of bikes. The couple times you ever see him moving on a bike is when a crew member pushed him. I don't even think it was running. The coolest Harley rider ever was one of my heroes growing up, Evel Knievel. And that guy jumped over 14 Greyhound buses on a Harley Davidson Sportster.
And he's not hesitating. He'll go.
All right, let's start this old P51 up and go for a ride. What's that little thing? Small bike. It's probably faster than this though. So some people compare this to a tractor, and I can kind of see that, I guess. I mean, it's got that kind of rough, rumbly vibe to it. A lot of torque, not a whole lot of horsepower. You know, show me a tractor that can do 80 on the highway. The bike has plenty of grunt. I mean, it's great for just in the city, stoplight to stoplight. I mean, this thing has plenty. You know, it's not as fast as the 1200s, like the 48 or the Iron 1200. But I'm never really wishing I had more power or anything. I mean, it's plenty. And you know, I've ridden just about every Sportster, you know, that came out in the last 10 years. You know, if you ride them back to back, a 1200 and a 883, you'll obviously notice a difference, but it's not as big as you think. And just riding this, especially just around town, it's definitely not lacking. Plenty of power. Just having such a low seat height, it's just great in traffic. It's just so easy. The Superlow is really comfortable. I'm 5'8" and I fit this thing perfectly. I mean, I figure if you're anywhere between about 5'1" and 5'9", it's gonna be a really comfortable bike. It's got mid controls, which I prefer. You know, if you're starting to push 6 foot though, you'll probably want to put forwards on this, but then it will be comfortable. It's got the older seat on here, well, at least old compared to the newer Iron 883 that has that tuck and roll style seat, which looks cool, but it's not as comfortable in my opinion. And then the handlebars, you know, they're kind of like the mini apes. You know, they're not like what's on the Iron 1200, those mini apes, or the older 48 Special, but you know, they rise higher than the other ones, and my arms just kind of fall right on them. It's exactly where I want it to be. And the back end is so low, I'm almost like leaning back. And then just with the mid controls and these bars like they are, I mean, it's just such a perfect fit for someone who's 5'8". Just a very comfortable bike. So it's been over 100 degrees for like a week straight in LA. So I've been doing a lot of riding at night. So let's see how the Superlow does after dark. It's great to be out here at night. That heat wave has been a killer. That guy's got a train going. My mirror's loose. Highway's pushing it. I gotta tighten that down. Highway patrol. I love this speedometer. I mean, it's been on most Sportsters. I mean, going back even before 2010. Just a real simple speedometer, but you got that little LCD strip at the bottom. That's basically straight off of a Casio from the 1980s. But it gives you everything you need. It's not just an odometer and trip meter. You got your RPMs and a gear indicator right there. So that's everything I want from a bike. You don't get a gas gauge, but I can live with that. I just want a tachometer and a gear indicator. I'm happy. This bike sounds so good, even though it's got the stock pipes on them, so it's kind of quiet. You know, at night like this, when there's no real background noise, it just sounds good. I'll probably put something else on here, but for now, it's just hard not to feel cool on this bike. It's got a halogen headlight, you know, it's not the best. You can always upgrade to an LED, but you know, just kind of riding in the city like this, it's already pretty light out, so you don't need it anymore. If you're doing a lot of riding on back roads where it's dark, maybe you've got like a deer problem, and you know you need better lighting, and it's, you know, it's pretty cheap to upgrade to an LED light. And then you can always just sell this one on eBay and get some of that cost back. So who is this bike for? It's really versatile. It's just great in the city. Really good. Again, it's got enough grunt, stoplight to stoplight. You know, a great bar hopper. And you know, it's also surprisingly good on the highway. I mean, I want to do a lot of distance riding. I mean, it's obviously not going to be as good as the Softails and baggers, but you know, I'd have no problem throwing a temporary windshield on here and going from LA to Vegas. And with the larger 4.5 gallon gas tank, I'd only have to stop once on the way there. So it's really surprisingly good on the highway. But again, you know, that's kind of relative. I wouldn't want to be doing any kind of real touring, 500-mile days, that kind of thing. Then you want to at least get something like the Softail standard, and preferably like a road glide or a street glide. It really is cool having that little tachometer right there and that LCD strip. And then, you know, when I start going, you'll have the gear indicator on the left. Just a lot of information in such a small, archaic looking display. So I could see, you know, new riders, beginner riders getting a bike like this, and then after a year or so getting a little bored and wanting to upgrade to something bigger, something faster. You know, and I get that, but I think for more experienced riders that really understand the history of Harley, and especially the history of these Sportsters, you know, it's a fun bike to have around. You know, I've got a couple fast bikes in the garage, but I love having Sportsters. I mean, it's just such a old school, chill, just a cool ride. Wait, this isn't the Superlow.
Where did you get this motorcycle?
This is actually a 2018 1200 Roadster, and it's the best Evo Sportster by a wide margin. It's basically the successor to the XR 1200 from 2008, and it's a true performance Sportster. It's not a typical cruiser at all, more of a cafe racer street fighter with inverted front forks, dual disc brakes, a high stance, and don't quote me on this, but what I think are the lowest handlebars of any Sportster. It puts you in a more aggressive riding position for the best performance, and it's got the bigger 1200cc V-twin for the most power. If I have to change the spark plugs of my Ducati Street Fighter or Suzuki Gixxer 750, I've got to pull the tank. But on these older Evo designs, all the Sportsters, everything is just right out in the open. The spark plugs are literally right there. I mean, it couldn't be easier. Then the oil filter is just right down there. Everything is just so accessible. And then come around to the right side, and the air filter housing is right there on the side of the engine. I mean, it could not be easier. If I have to change the air filter on either of my other bikes, I again have to pull the tank. Upgrading these Evo bikes is also very easy. I mean, look at the headers. They couldn't be more accessible if you want to put on a new full exhaust. And if you want to upgrade the air filter with something like a Arlen Ness Monster Sucker, it literally just bolts right onto the side. And then a tuner like the Vance & Hines FP4 can quickly update the ECU through an app on your phone. So thanks for watching, and if you're new, definitely subscribe and stick around. A lot of cool stuff is coming up. And please hit the like button, as it definitely helps the channel. Roadster content is coming soon, along with the Ducati and Suzuki. And I got some vintage Nortons and Triumphs coming as well. I'll also get that Royal Enfield Bullet running reliably. I have the parts I need to push it over the finish line. So until next time, guys.